At this point, this is where you're going to want to put your ice and water across the bottoms. This is a mock-up version of a roof. Typically, your valley is going to go a whole lot higher up. So you're going to start with putting a piece of ice and water on your bottom dormers, if any, and then your main section, crossing them. Then you're going to dry in your, well, you're going to put your ice and water down your valley, then dry it in. Then your gable metal. But again, for the sake of the video, one pass ice and water completely covers up the valley, so we're not going to have ice and water up the valley. The only difference. Ice and water is required in most areas, and if not required by your area, most manufacturers require it. It's a good product to have. If you're going to have a low slope, or any slope for that matter, typically you're going to put your apron down, then you're going to dry it in right here. If you have a low slope or a lot of ice damming in your area, I'm pretty sure the manufacturers recommend to install it hanging down your fascia board midway and then putting your apron on. Honestly, if you're going to do all that, why even put the apron on? So anyway, for the sake of the video, we're going to go over the edge metal, over the apron. This is a big pass, so we're just going to cut it a little long here. Going to jump over and do a piece on the dormer there. Now I will say ice and water can be a nightmare, especially by yourself if it's warm out in summertime. You peel this backing off and you were to do that, it would be stuck. It's a mess. So there's different ways you can do this. I recommend leaving the plastic on the back, getting it lined up, then peeling it off and sticking it down and pulling the backing off. Then you peel your top side. We typically use magnetic hatchets to install ice and water. Make sure it's pressed in all the way in the valley. If it's hanging over on your gables, just trim it back. So if you got an extra set of hands or a helper, rolling it can be a really good idea. It can be pretty quick. You're going to get it lined up on one end, height-wise, and over on your edge. I typically peel just a little bit. And then tack it with a air nailer or a cap nail, whichever. Don't go through your plastic. Then what you'll do is you can either roll it all the way out, like we just showed you, and peel it, or once you got it set and started, again, I wouldn't recommend this on a hot day. You pull your plastic, which pulls your roll, and it goes out. Keeping it as straight as you can. You can sometimes kind of flip it, straighten it. Again, if it's hot out and it's a warm day, it's going to stick. I wouldn't advise that unless you're rolling it straight. And again, one of the most important things, you want to make sure you cover as much of that as you can so it can ultimately stick down, seal, and cover those nails. The whole point of the ice and water is for ice dam backing up. It will seal around your nails and it prevents any further damage from ice dam. Then you just peel your bottom. Don't forget to do that. There's actually a low slope repair I went to do last year. They didn't peel the cellophane off the bottom, which actually water was wicking back up under because it never sealed down, and actually rotted out a bottom piece of their wood there. So make sure you peel your bottom plastic. Your valley is pushed in, tack it. At this point, this is when, if you have a valley of any significant length, you're going to put your ice and water down your valley. You're going to start from the top side of the valley all the way down, crossing it, and you're going to trim and leave a little web inside here. Just a little web, not much. It'll get your water carried out past the bottom edge here. Now, while we're here, we're going to just throw a pass of ice or a paper across the top too. So again, in your area, some areas might require 2 passes or so many feet past your exterior frost wall, or so. Say you got an exterior wall right back here and you have a 1-foot overhang. Well, if it's a low slope, 1 pass is 3 feet. We'll get you 2 foot past that. Check your local building codes in your area, see how many passes you need. In our area, not even required. It's crazy what you can get by with here in Kokomo. So paper, synthetic paper. Again, this is a mock-up board, so we're just going to run with this, and it's already going to come down halfway. Typically, you're going to want to put about a 4-inch pass on this. In any vertical seams, you're going to make a 4 or 6-inch pass or overlap. Sometimes if your ice and water is slick, this one actually I can grip pretty good. Depending upon your pitch, if it's slick, you can also slide this down a ways, so you can grip the paper a lot better than some of the cheap slick ice and waters. So that's just a little tip to keep in mind. Good to straighten it up as straight as you can and run your paper as straight as you can, because you can typically use the lines on the paper as reference marks to make sure you're roughing it straight. And then it's your final pass. I always try to take the roll straight with the top ridge opening. Just don't nail this, we're going to tie into it. Go ahead and tack it off. So if you were to put your ice and water in here now and then put your gable end on this, if you had a leak in your shingles and it's on your ice and water, it's going to go under your edge metal and then into this wood piece down here. Not a good situation. So you're going to put a small piece on your bottom down here like this. Then put your ice and water and valley on. That way if there's ever a leak, it'll be on top of your metal and on all sides. So we're just going to shoot this little piece on. You don't want any loose pieces of metal bouncing around. Make sure it's pinned off. So we'll put this ice in, your valley, tuck under this, and then your So now this is on. If you ever had a leak, it's going to be on top of that. We're also going to just, since I've got a scrap piece of cut right here, kind of show you what valley roll would be. So typically you're going to put the width of your valley roll like this. You're going to start from the top, let your roll down. Make sure you cross over, leave a web at the bottom like as explained on the other side. And then your paper will cross over when you're drying it in onto your valley roll on both sides. This is a small mock-up board, 1 pass covers it. But, so over here, there's many different ways you can do it. The basics, you're gonna wanna make sure ice and water's across your bottom, ice and water around the chimneys, and you're gonna wanna make sure that it laps. So you're gonna put your bottom piece on first, roll up, you're gonna put your side pieces, roll up the chimney, and then have it overlap. We're gonna go ahead and put these in right now. Just to make it easy, because I'm working myself, we're gonna put a little piece in at the bottom. Go ahead and get it lined up on your outer edge and the height you need it. You're gonna make sure you get that pushed down as tight as you can get it into the corners there. Yeah, just enough scrap here to do this to show you. It's always good to get this pressed down as tight as you can get it in there. Now this is also what I would say the style you're gonna do, or not really style, but it's new construction essentially. If you've got J-channel and siding up here, it's really hard to get it back up under there. You're gonna need to take it apart to get it up under there, or make it a little smaller to get it roll up under. I'm getting really low on ice and water for this demonstration, so I'm going to cut a piece just to extend this up on the side here on both sides and then put one in the back. You would normally do a big piece.